Hello and welcome to the big picture. The increasing decline in the quality of functioning of the parliament and state legislatures has been a cause of serious concern for some years now. This has been an issue which has exercised the minds of not only ordinary people but the elected members themselves. A conference of whips being held at Goa at present has raised these issues. The Parliamentary Affairs Minister Venkaiah Naidu, speaking at the conference today, expressed serious concern over the erosion of credibility of Parliament and legislature. The conference is also looking at whether codification of the conduct of the legislators and MPs as well as codification of privileges will help. Both these matters have also been part of the debate of improving the functioning of Parliament and restoring its credibility. The question is whether such a codification of the conduct as well as privileges will help. We will discuss all this today with PDT Achari, former Secretary General of the Lok Sabha, Nilotpal Basu, former CPIM MP and also Chief Whip of the party and leader of the party in the Rajya Sabha, K.N. Bhatt, Senior Advocate, Supreme Court, and Vinod Sharma, Political Editor, Hindustan Times. Welcome to all of you. Nilotpal, you have been a MP for 12 years in Rajya Sabha. You have also been the Chief Whip of your party for several years, and you have also been a leader of your party in the Rajya Sabha. These kind of issues which keep coming up periodically, we keep talking about improving the functioning of Parliament, and now again we are seeing this being discussed in Goa at the Whips conference. You think that why is it that for all these years a code of conduct or a code of privileges has not been evolved yet?
First of all, Girish, just like leaders are as bad or as good as the people, Parliament is also as bad or as good as the parliamentarians themselves. Now, there are certain very serious erroneous tendencies coming into the electoral process. You see, the villain of the piece is the corruption of the election process. First of all, the money power, the kind of money power that is now leading to the election of people. So, I think a lot of NGOs specifically doing on this, they can show, the major change that has taken place from the yesteryears. Secondly, the whole question of caste, community, all this, the way they are clouding the electoral process. As a result of that, violence, intolerance, these are also creeping into the parliamentary system also in a very big way. I think therefore we should look at the problem, which is definitely a very big challenge. I agree with Venkaiah Naidu, but it has to be viewed from a more fundamental standpoint, and not just the behavior of the MPs. The political parties, what kind of people they would actually like to have represent them in the parliament. And if you have infinite kind of money, that should earn you a parliament seat, is something which will inevitably lead to this kind of a situation. Therefore, I think codification doesn't help in the sense that any parliamentary system, and Mr. Chari will especially tell you, that you see Parliament is all about conventions, precedents. Parliament is place where effective parliamentarians make their points in undertones. There is no loud noise in Parliament, and those kind of things. You have to provide for exceptions. There are exceptionally brilliant parliamentarians, but if you codify that, I think such display of sheer brilliance also may get obstructed. So I think the point here is not codification, but basically concentrate on the content and on the type of people that ought to get elected in the parliament.
That's a larger issue, Mr. Achari. Are you in favor of codification of the conduct as well as privileges?
Well, you have raised a very important issue, namely codification of privileges and
also conduct. You know, they're talking also the
codification of
government is also,
conduct.
at least the minister is talking of codification
you
of
know,
the conduct.
the codification of privilege is an issue which has been discussed over a long period of
Ad
time.
nauseum over a period of time.
A long period of time.
Yes.
The Privileges Committee of Lok Sabha, I think a few years back, under the chairmanship of Mr. Kishore Chandra Dev.
Right.
Perhaps that was the latest. Before that, also a number of committees had gone into this. In fact, the world over, the position is that privileges have not been codified anywhere. One of the main reasons for that is that if you, of course, there is a provision in the Constitution which says that unless Parliament makes a law in respect of privileges, the privileges of the members and the House will be those of the House of Commons. I mean, of course, that reference has been removed now, but in effect, that is the position. But the trend has been against codification of privileges. One of the main reasons cited always was that once you make a law, then it will attract Article 13. Because under Article 13, you cannot make a law which will infringe the fundamental rights. Now here, certainly there will be a conflict between the legislative house and the individual citizens on the basis of fundamental right, because that, so many cases have come up and there were very exciting kind of cases and decisions by the courts on these issues. Then the House will lose its privilege. The House will not be able to decide. You know,
The judiciary will take over.
judiciary will take over. House will not be able to enforce its privilege, which is inalienable to the House. In all democratic countries, the legislature has this inalienable right to punish a contender of the House. That is inalienable. That cannot be taken away from the House.
And the parliament legislatures will lose that right. Mr. Bhatt, you know, when we are talking of code of conduct, Mr. Acharya was talking of, you know, making it into a law. But is there something which, without making it into a law, just writing down a written down code of conduct, you think is in any way better?
See, most of the citizens world over are law abiding not because there is a code. Indian Penal Code, many of us are not aware except lawyers. We are not committing murder or theft or anything not because there is a code. Those, as Mr. Basu told, the good people and the good surrounding, they continue to be good, not because of the code. And making a code, as Mr. Chari said, it is immediately attract the attention of the court about the validity or the otherwise. And then you are laying down what you can do outside it. See, once you lay down that this you cannot do, then you are saying that outside you can do whatever it is not covered. That is, it is not the position now. I think best thing is to leave it as it is. And the required culture, because at the time of making of the constitution, the listing of the privileges, for example, was left out.
After much discussion.
After much discussion, lot of discussion took place, and they said, look, if we add all of them, whatever has happened in the British Parliament, you have to have another 2 or 3 volumes. And that is the reason why they said, as and when time comes. Though, as Mr. Chari said, it was in 42nd Amendment, I think it was left out. But then again by the 44th Amendment, they said, as it was before. In other words, it is the same thing which has come to. In any case, during the last 60 plus years of our republic, there were only hardly any occasion, 1 or 2 occasions were there, either in the 64 in the UP Assembly case or otherwise, to refer to the British parliamentary practice. Otherwise, we don't require it. For example, cash for query, question.
Cash for questions.
Question, this one, that, etc.
I will Girish.
One second. Let him finish.
So these things do not require anything. Our Constitution, Article 105, 1 and 2, 1 can be good enough.
And the parliament can handle this problem.
Can handle it, and there is still position for parliament to 3 also that as by law declared by parliament. If there is some particular type of things become rampant, then they may make a law without any particular. They have the power to make.
Yes,
a law.
yes.
No, I just wanted to actually substantiate with precedents. You see, earlier when on the JMM bribery scandal, on the no confidence motion against Narasimha Rao, it went to the court. It was a delayed process.
Right.
But you contrast this with the cash for scam.
The parliament handled
the
it.
ethics committee of the Rajya Sabha and the special subcommittee under privileges committee of the Lok Sabha, they opined and terminated the membership of
So the full-fledged
members.
committee of
Lok Sabha. Within 6 months, and these are the kind of things which do not get highlighted also in mainstream media. You
Okay.
see, I mean, when the parliament is at fault, there's a hue and cry, and justifiably so. But when there is something good precedent being created by the parliament, I mean, there's no mention.
Vinod, from the point of view of the government, today, Mr. Venkaiah Naidu, was very frank and candid while speaking. He was talking about how criminalization of politics and all other things, which Nilotpal also mentioned, has led to this kind of a situation. So, what do? Do we codify the conduct, especially codifying conduct? What an MP should do or should not do on the floor of the House as a member? Is this something practicable?
Well, I think that the problem is being addressed from the wrong end. As Nilotpal a while ago pointed out, that so long as you ensure a quality human resource into our parliament, you won't be able to rein in these people with any kind of courts. Moreover, I take serious exception to my parliament, which is the supreme institution of this country, though you have a Supreme Court of India. But the supreme institution in this country is the Parliament of India, because I elect it after every 5 years and I send it out after every 5 years. So long as that corrective process is there and the people have the right to sit in judgment, I would not like a situation where that right of the citizen is taken away by another institution of the state, namely the court. Because if there is a law, then the courts step in, as has been pointed out by Mr. Bhatt and also by Mr. Achari. The question here is that what has prompted the Honourable Minister for Parliamentary Affairs to be mooting this code now? I wonder, because I don't want to see a regimented parliament. In fact, I am personally also against this issuance of whips to members of parliament by political parties. If there is a question of ideology, if there is a question of principle, if there is a question of probity in public life, should not a member of parliament have the freedom to rise in a minority of one and make his point? This is what we have been taught by the first Speaker of Parliament, Mr. Mavlankar. And I think that this sentiment should not be diluted at any cost, regardless of what the motivation is. Codification of conduct and privileges? I don't understand what it means. It doesn't make any sense in a parliamentary democracy, which is the largest, which has had the smoothest transition of power, barring one, since the independence of this country, and which has given to this world some of the best parliamentarians, some of the most learned people.
Yeah. Okay, I mean, Vinod, all that is accepted. The fact is that there is a serious problem as far as the functioning of the parliament and the state legislature are concerned. Yes, Mr. Achari, you wanted to react.
I will make a brief point on this codification of conduct, as you put it. Actually, how the members should conduct themselves on the floor of the House.
Or even otherwise as MP.
If you go through the rules, there are some do's and don'ts. In the rules is a part of the rule which the members of parliament have to adhere to. That is there. Then, parliaments, both houses have ethics committee. And one of the ethics committees gave a report saying that certain recommendations could be made part of the rules. Now, these are things which are there. Already there are provisions in the rules which govern the conduct of members on the floor of the House. And then the Ethics Committee has given recommendation which can also be made part of the rule. So that should take care of this codification aspect of this. But the question is, or the point has been raised here, the quality of members who get elected to the House and the way in which the presiding officer conducts the proceedings of the House. These are all matters which are of very great importance so far as running the House is concerned. I have been, just one second, I have been associated with Parliament for almost 40 years.
Yes.
I have seen brilliant, as Nirolpatji has said, brilliant debaters in the House like Professor Hiran Mukherjee, Indrajit Gupta, and so many other people,
Yes.
other members, world-class parliamentarians. We have seen that. But why is it that the present Parliament is not even a ghost of what it had been earlier?
Yes, Mr. Bhatt.
With all seriousness, I would like to point out that live coverage of the proceedings in the House, if you stop it, the behavior internally may improve. Because I have been watching the Parliament for the number of years, but whatever has happened after the TV era is really.
You think that has given them the...
It is given because people try to reach their constituencies through their behavior.
So they're playing to the gallery.
Yep.
Nilotpal, there has been a lot of discussion on this. In fact, it's very interesting that the live proceedings were started. When your party member, later of course he was no more your party member. You were the speaker and things. So you think that this is something which has to be discussed. One thing. Second thing is about the whip, the issue, the system of whips itself. That also needs to be discussed.
I think, first of all, the point that my friend Binod was making about this political parties not imposing discipline on their members because they ought to be independent. I think then there is nothing of the political party system left. See, whip is applied on the voting and on the presence of the member in the House.
Only two things. Are you sure?
Not on the, yes, and
because
not on the content of the speech.
If you talk to the MPs, do they have full freedom to say what they want to say?
I mean, technically, nothing can stop them from speaking out and there cannot be whip on the content of their speeches. But on being present in the House on a particular day of voting, there can be whip, and there can be also whip on the manner in which they vote. But there cannot be any whip on the content of their speeches.
Vinod, would you agree with that? I mean, having observed, having watched Parliament for so many years.
I have tremendous regard for Nilotpal as a parliamentarian. But here, I slightly beg to disagree with him. Because given the nature of certain political parties, including his own, if there was a member of Parliament who was to stand up and raise an ideological question or question the party's ideology in his speech, regardless of which side he votes, whether he follows the whip or not, action will follow for the simple reason that goes into the institutional memory of Parliament. On behalf of a member of Mr. Nilotpal's party or any other cadre-based party, disciplined party, parties to which he strongly adheres to ideology. No, you see, Nilotpal has been fair. He himself says that technically there is no bar. Yes, technically there is no bar, but practically it is impossible. And I think that there should be some discussion happening rather than discussing a code of privileges or conduct, that political parties should internally allow 100,000 flowers to bloom. Insofar as issues are concerned.
We are digressing from the original.
Why do you think we are digressing?
My point is that very clear. I mean, there has to be
my question.
Institutionalized mechanism of expressing one's difference in terms of point of view in the party. But when you are in a party, no party can exist. It will become a anarchy kind of a situation. If anybody and everybody, then they are always.
So you
always have
you
them
think that the
having
system of whips is essential?
absolutely essential.
for the-
Otherwise, political
Girish.
the party system cannot be married into the parliamentary
Yes,
system.
yes, Vinod.
Yeah, you see,
I'll come to that.
the other deliberating factor, disabling factor, actually is also the anti-defection law. While it has a strong point, it has a serious downside. Say, for instance, there are a few people
Anti-defection law doesn't-
who disagree with the leadership.
Anti-defection law doesn't deal with the content of the speech made.
No.
Only
What I'm
only
saying
on
is
the voting.
anti-defection law that I cannot even split a party on an ideological issue.
Right.
And without losing my membership. You see, that is the bigger question. So I think
there Vinod will have to realize that when did the anti-defection law come? Where the Indian National Congress was having a brute majority in the House, yet because of the kind of dynamics it set into motion, they were scared that there may be split unless that one-third figure that
Yes, yes, Mr. Bhatt.
No. Whip is something which has been recognized by the Constitution.
Right.
10th schedule said that violation of a whip, content of the whip, as Mr. Basu told, that nobody can control the content of the speech. Because it is not pre-censured. Speech is not given to the leader of the parliament, he approves it and then you go and read it.
Right.
It is something which you make naturally.
And it whatever.
So whip is not, I don't find anything, whip has to be there. Unless a party, it cannot be a party, it will be a bunch of people which cannot be controlled. So whip has to be there, but the problem is that, look, what we are discussing is whether there should be a code
Yes.
or conduct or not for the member generally.
No, even the issue of whips, because there's a whips conference.
Now we have got the election code of conduct. This election code of conduct prevents only some good things from being done. Bad things continue as they go. Because then if you want to say that, look, I want to sanction something which is very urgently needed here, repairing a road or something, he said, no, code of conduct has come. and
Apart
you
from that, Mr. Bhatt, I was just in Haryana and Maharashtra. You cannot make out that an election is going on. The
the
color,
whole atmosphere
and
is-
everything has
yes,
gone. But,
yes.
but people are spending money just like water.
That is
Mr.
against the code of conduct.
Mr. Achari, as far as the whip issue is concerned,
What is
no, my question is that, the same question which Vinod has a point of view, saying that whip, the whole issue of issuing whips itself needs to be questioned or there needs to be a debate over that.
See,
You think
We
it is
have
essential for the parliament to function properly?
I feel
but
so.
because despite the existence of the whip, we have seen the conditions of how the parliament and the legislatures function.
See, so far as the whip, which we understand in the context of 10th schedule is concerned, that is very essential. Whip is essential because we have well-established party systems. And this one person joins a party and functions within the party, and he knows within what rules or what parameters of behavior he should conduct himself. And if he violates that, if he doesn't get any kind of punishment for that, if he violates it,
Then it will lead to anarchy.
then I fully agree with him. That it will lead to some kind of
we're
anarchy.
running out of time. Vinod, the question is also now of Mr. Venkaiah Naidu has made this speech during his speech in Goa today. I said that fixed time should be set for both parliament and legislature. He has suggested 40 days in a year minimum for the state legislatures and 70 days minimum for the parliament. Do you think that is something which is workable and practical?
It should be welcomed for the simple reason that some of the states governed by the party to which Mr. Venkaiah Naidu himself belongs haven't had a glorious record insofar as functioning of parliament is concerned, namely Gujarat, where there have been occasions when the state legislature functioned only for 2 days during monsoon session and winter session. It had a longer sitting during the budget session, which was unavoidable. So I think that, You see, first of all, before we codify any conduct or privileges, we must make the houses functional, that they should start working. And you know how you do that, this is not purely the prerogative of the government. It is
Exclude the time
Okay.
taken in the well.
Yeah, you know,
Yes.
no, but I think that's an instrumentality. you have to
I
leave it.
totally agree with Vinod, but my fundamental point
Quickly,
is,
we are running
you
out.
see, Parliament can function perfectly if the government is accountable to the Parliament and opposition is also accountable to Parliament. This lack of accountability by both the government and the opposition is leading to all this melee.
Quickly, time limit, number of days.
Must.
It's a must.
And exclude the time taken in the well.
Well,
Okay.
Absolutely, there should be longer sittings of the legislature.
I think on that note we need to end. This is a debate which will continue till we see better functioning of the parliament and the legislatures. Though there has been not much difference in the past few years in terms of improvement in the functioning, we hope that these kind of debates will help in improvement. But as all my guests pointed out, it also depends on the kind of human resource which come into these institutions. We'll have to wait and watch whether there will be any improvement in that. Thanks to all my guests, Nilotpal Basu, K.N. Bhatt, PDT Acharya and Vinod Sharma. Please keep watching. We'll come back with another issue on Big Picture same time tomorrow.